Hi everyone, Alan here, talking tunes. Cookie joining us here today. We're going to discuss the brand new Nightingale album, Retribution. Cheers. The new Nightingale album, Retribution, it's out on InsideOutMusic. It's their 7th studio album and released here in the U.S. Officially January 27th of 2015. The album already released in Europe on Inside Out last year, November 10th, 2014. And again, their 7th studio album, and it's released on InsideOutMusic. And so excited that the band getting on board with InsideOutMusic for this release and getting exposure that it very well deserves. Now this release, Retribution, comes about 20 years after the band first started, and really it just started as a side project from Dan Swanö. Of course, kind of growing into a full-fledged band, certainly at this point, with Dan and also his brother Dag Swanö on board, as well as Tom Bjorn, Eric Oskarsson. That makes up Nightingale here in 2015. Now the release is a progressive hard rock masterpiece, in my opinion, of course. If you know me, you know I'm a big Dan Swanö, Dag Swanö, Nightingale, all things Swanö, anything Swanö related, I'm a fan of. And this album here really shows the band at their peak, in my opinion. It's not to discredit the other previous albums or even their earlier works, which The Closing Chronicles is one of my favorite albums of all time. So that's nothing to say that those albums are bad or anything like that. That's just really to say that the band, every release they've been putting out lately, well, this being 7 years since White Darkness, every release it seems they put out finds the band at their peak. They keep getting stronger and stronger, and it's strange to say that a band after 20 years is at their peak. Usually it is some of their earlier works with a lot of the classic bands that you really latch on to their earlier works and say the band was at their peak at that time. But with Nightingale here, strong stuff in their 7th album, Retribution. The album starts out with the track On Stolen Wings, and it's an extremely hard-hitting opener. There's a lot of punch in that song, a lot of melody, and just a lot of rock. It's a really good way to open up the album. And the band released a pop-up style video for this song, and I really think that you need to watch the video. I'll put a link in the description box below to this video. It really is interesting to watch and learn the evolution of the song, kind of get a little history about it, where it started, where it could have went, and it's really interesting to know all that, and then hear the final product. And it's amazing how much that song how much went into that song, and then how perfect the final product is. So I'll put the link below to that video. It's a really cool video to watch, really interesting, again, to get a little evolution of that particular track. This track, On Stolen Wings, and another one, just because I talked about the track Forevermore, which was released as the first single late last year by Inside Out. I did a track review for that when that came out with anticipation of the new album. Now, just these two songs here, the rest of the album as well, but what the band really do well, and I mentioned this again with the track review on Forevermore, the band, the attention to detail for the guitar solos are impeccable. It's just great lead guitar solos that Nightingale plaster all over their music, every album. And you find yourself memorizing and humming along these solos just as much as you do the melody or the vocals, the lyrics, and stuff like that. It's one thing I really love about the guys and their attention to detail with the guitar solos. It's just phenomenal. Now, another thing I also talked about, and I'll reiterate here, was any Swanö release, there's an air of familiarity about the tracks, the song, the album, what have you. after listening to Retribution just a couple of times, I found myself instantly familiar with it. It felt like I've already listened to it 100 times. And that's not to say I've grown weary or tired of it. It's just, they have that knack of, I don't know what it is, but it's this air of familiarity. Now, I know Dan, which I'll get to here in a moment, but Dan really went for that kind of throwback, melodic rock, pomp rock, 80s vibe here. So, sure, there's a lot of catchy tunes here, but it just seems like they have this air of familiarity throughout each album, their previous albums as well. It just feels like it's a seasoned classic already, Retribution, and they do it again here on their 7th studio album. Now, I just mentioned that Dan went for that 80s melodic rock, pomp rock type of vibe, AOR influence. With that influence, that means that Dan did a lot of the writing here. This is a lot more of Dan than it is Dag, as the previous album White Darkness was. There was a lot more contribution from Dag on White Darkness, and here on Retribution, Dan Swanö kind of took back the reins a little bit and did a lot of the songwriting, and there's a lyric contribution throughout the band here on Retribution. So you'll find a lot of tracks that have that Dan sort of vibe. They all do, but he really went for that 80s pomp rock, melodic rock vibe. And again, to me, progressive hard rock masterpiece here is really the best way to sum it up. Now, the album has excellent production, once again, coming from Dan. And those that are familiar with his work over the years know he's just as well known for bands like Edge of Sanity, Nightingale, Unicorn, Pandemonium, etc., as he is for his production work, with hundreds and hundreds of albums to his credit, mixing, mastering, guest vocals, guest guitar work, and the like. You'll find the production on here to be top-notch. Not much to be said about it, except it is top-notch, once again. And also with the deluxe edition here, Dan also included, as an enhanced portion of the disc, a full dynamic resolution vinyl mix. And that's one thing that I was surprised about. Being on InsideOutMusic, the majority of the recent InsideOutMusic releases do see vinyl releases as well as CD, digital, and that. But here, there's no vinyl release, at least right now, and nothing planned in the near future that I'm aware of. So you only find Retribution released at this time on CD. Now, I've given the band's 7th studio album here, Retribution, no surprise. I've given it a 5 out of 5. And here released to us in the U.S. officially January 27, 2015 on InsideOutMusic. I really recommend this album to those already a fan of the band. No question, you want to pick this up and listen to it. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Additionally, if you've not heard of the band before, you're just getting into them because they are on InsideOutMusic, this isn't a bad place to start at all. Retribution, again, I mentioned, it really finds the band at their peak. Each album they release, they just keep getting stronger and stronger, and certainly looking forward to what the future holds here for Nightingale. I'm sure there'll be plenty of new fans jumping on board here now that they're getting some great exposure on InsideOutMusic, and welcome aboard. If you like this album and you're new to them, go ahead and revisit the earlier stuff as well. But yeah, you can't go wrong with starting here at Retribution. You can't go wrong picking up Retribution if you're already a fan. I certainly highly recommend it if you're a fan of that melodic, progressive, hard rock type of music. So we'll give a 5 out of 5 here to the brand new Nightingale album, Retribution. I'll put links below to their Facebook page, YouTube channel as well. Dan Swanö, Dag Swanö, Nightingale, and the like, really amping up their presence on social media lately, and that's fantastic. Really gaining a lot of new followers, new fans. So we'll put all the pertinent links below that you'll need to go ahead and further investigate Nightingale here. So I appreciate you joining me here on Talkin' Tunes, and I hope you'll tune again next time, everybody.